What's going on, guys? Stefan, Estini's Garage. Today we're going to be here with the sun in my eyes and also with Emily's 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now Emily, the missus, has been very patient with me buying all kinds of car parts for my white car, my Camry, getting that to where I want it. And we kind of put this on the back burner. Now prior to her buying this and me buying my white Camry, we both had Mustangs. I had a 2017 Mustang GT in grabber blue. I'm going to drop a picture of that below. And Emily had a 2011 5.0 Coyote Mustang. It was performance white, and she had an intake and an exhaust and some work on that. So she's the kind of girl that doesn't like to leave a vehicle stock either, so this is a long time coming for her. So we went ahead and purchased her a K&N cold air intake. Now this is K&N, let's see if it says the part number on here. Looks like that might be the part number there, 77-1560 KTK. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. We're going to see what's in the box. And we're going to go ahead and start installing this intake onto this car. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to fire it up. We're just going to give it a couple revs. You can hear it stock. And then we'll do an after as well. Now you can see it looks like we have some rodent activity here. So we are going to check this over when we're doing our install. Make sure we don't find anything that doesn't belong. So with that being said, let's fire it up. Alright, just going to give it a couple little revs. Here, it's very quiet. You don't really hear the intake much. And what I'm probably going to do when I have the intake off is just clean the throttle body a little bit. I'll get some throttle body cleaner, wipe it out, clean everything. So let's pull this engine cover off. It should lift straight up like this, revealing our throttle body back here with our map sensor. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and pull this factory intake clean out of the car. So we do have to, like I said, we have a map sensor here. We have to unplug and disconnect. You just slide this red tang over, it comes right out. Then we're going to undo this flathead, looks like maybe an 8mm, and we're going to just disconnect it from this whole tube, get this out of the way. Alright, so to get this off, like I said, you have to pull that clamp, this clamp here, and then the intake tube is held in with this little rubber grommet, so that should come right out. The vacuum line for my purge valve actually broke from being brittle and moving it around when I was trying to unplug it, so we are going to have to replace that. So just be careful with yours. I'm just going to have to tape it up for her for right now, but I'm going to go ahead and get one of them on order. This is real easy to replace. It just goes to right here, and there's the quick disconnect for what goes down to the tank. So just be mindful of that with yours. Now while, like I said, we have this apart, we're going to push this throttle valve open. I'm going to spray some carb cleaner in there, and we're just going to clean it up, make it look real nice, and then we can go ahead and start pulling this guy out, getting it out of the way, the bottom air box, and then we're ready to open our K&N and get started. We are going to have to remove the purge valve from the factory intake tube. That is this guy here, and it basically slides right on there. Cleaning the throttle body is super easy. You just take your carb cleaner, spray it on a paper towel, and you just gently push this open with your fingers, and you just get in there, you clean the lip and you clean the bore of the throttle body. I'm just going to give this a final wipe down, and I'm going to call that nice and clean, and then we're going to go ahead and get our airbox out. So the top of the airbox is just going to come out with clips, one here, and then it's hinged at the back, so you just have to lift and pull, and then we're going to carefully disconnect this vacuum hose because I don't want it to break like that one did. Alright, top of the air cleaner's out. All I did is twist the airbox and pull, got this off. It looks like this is just held in with little rubber stoppers and clips. So we're going to give it a little yank, see what happens, and I'll let you know how I make out. So this is in fact held in with rubber grommets, but they are holding on for dear life. So we're going to take some heavy duty silicone, and we're just going to soak them, let them sit for a second, and this should loosen them up, and I should be able to pull it right out. So let's see what happens here if I give it a yank now. There we go. Okay, you're gonna have to move this rubber grommet here from this intake scoop, and now this should all come out as one piece. And there is one wire back here that we're gonna have to unclip. So let me get that off camera, unclip that, and we'll get this airbox out of the way. All right, guys, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna unbolt this air injection pump. There's two 10mm bolts, one here, one here. I'm gonna spray them down with a little bit of PB Blaster, and then we're gonna set this aside because K&N has a bracket that we're gonna have to put in there, I believe. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and proceed to the next step. Guys, so we're gonna take this bracket, slide it onto these two studs here, and then we're gonna slide our air injection pump on top of that and put those bolts back in. You are going to have to relocate this connector. It's usually right here, but the wire isn't long enough with this bracket. So we're just going to go ahead and zip tie it to this harness here. And then we also have to wire tie this guy somewhere onto the engine. So we're going to figure out a spot to put that as well. Alright guys, so for right now we're done under the hood. Now we're working on our heat shield for the intake. So you're going to go ahead and install this velocity stack onto your heat shield here. It's going to slide on like this, and then there's two threaded inserts here. You're going to tighten them down with the hardware provided with your K&N intake kit. So the directions weren't super clear on which hardware to use, so I had to look at the exploded diagram of this. But you're going to want to install the velocity stack with the 4mm Allen keys. You're going to use a flat washer, a lock washer, and then the Allen key on both sides. Up next, we're installing this weather stripping on the outside edge of this heat shield, and then we're going to trim the edge. Alright guys, so next we're taking two of these grommets out. Doesn't matter which two, we're just picking two of them, and we are going to go ahead and remove them from here and install them into the heat shield. Alright guys, grommets are in, wide side facing the bottom like this. Now we're going to go ahead, open up our air filter, install it on the velocity stack. Alright guys, filter's on. Now they want us to install this whole assembly into the car, so I'm going to do just as I did before. I'm just going to spray these down, and it'll slide right on. So our next step here is to remove the intake air temperature sensor from the factory intake. I sprayed it down with a little bit of silicone so that it comes out easy. So the way this comes out is you turn it counterclockwise, like so, very gently, and you go a quarter of a turn, and it pulls straight out. And once we get it out, we install it into the new intake tube. So we got that off camera. You're going to have this little O-ring to be fighting against. So once it turns your quarter of a turn, don't keep twisting. Just grab it firmly and pull it straight out. Intake air temp sensor is in. Now we are going to go over to the other intake tube, and we are going to install the threaded nipple for our crankcase breather that is provided with the kit into this section of the tube right here. Just be careful when you put this in. You can cross thread it. In the directions they tell you to tighten it hand tight and then go 2 turns. Alright guys, our next step here is to install this rubber hose clamp here. You install the one that's got a little bubble on it on the filter, and then you install the flat one on your throttle body. And now we can go ahead and start running our intake hoses. Alright guys, so we got all of our tubes loosely into place. These will still move. We have to align these 2 bolt holes here with your bracket and go ahead and get them in and started. And then we can go ahead and start tightening everything down and making it, the final fitment. Alright guys, so the last step here is to cut this elbow of the breather tube off. Because we're not going to need it with the K&N. We have this hose barb here, and they actually provide us with some hose in here. So they tell you to cut about 5 inches off. I just cut the elbow because I don't want to modify this too much, and we're just going to slide this over here and then trim this rubber hose to size. So here's our finished product with that vent tube. We test fitted our engine cover. Everything looks good there. All I have to do now is address that broken hose that I showed you back in the beginning. I'm just going to tape it up for now. I'm going to get a new one ordered, and let's fire it up. So I did just very quickly want to go over the routing for this intake. You're going to put this short guy here on the throttle body with your intake air temp sensor closest to the throttle body. You have the little elbow bellow here, and then it goes over into your filter. I was lucky enough that Jeep actually had one of these in stock, so we did not have to tape it up or do anything crazy. I just ran to the Jeep dealer, bought a new one. It's actually a super common problem from what they were telling me, because just from being under the hood and being exposed to fuel vapors all the time, between the heat and the fuel vapors, they just get brittle and fail. That is going to be part number 68189075AE. I'm going to go ahead and drop that and the part number for the intake. I'm going to put everything down in the description below. So if you guys do want to purchase them through my Amazon affiliates page, through those links, the channel will get a small cut for that. Alright guys, let's hear it. Wow. Sounds great. Let's shut the hood. Take it for a little ride. We'll clean that mess up when we're done. Alright. Right now we got the sunroof open. You might hear a little intake noise through the sunroof too. Let's hear it. Right out on the road. Wow. Holy crap. This thing is a lot throatier than I remember. That sounds awesome. So I think that Emily is going to appreciate this, because she's been having the itch for another V8 car, and with gas prices doing what they're doing and used car prices as high as they are right now, I don't think that's in the cards. But this is definitely a very nice upgrade. It totally transforms the way the car sounds. It sounds way throatier than they do stock. So if you have a 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee, I don't off the top of my head know the exact model years that this will fit. I'm going to put it in the the title and the description. But if you have a Grand Cherokee with the 3.6, or any vehicle with the 3.6 for that matter, if you do a cold air intake or short ram air intake, whatever you want to call it, it's going to greatly improve the sound out of this engine. Emily and I are the kind of people that like to hear our cars, and as you've seen in my other videos, we made that happen on my Camry, and it was just her time to shine. So with that being said, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.